help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Hey, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, Kingdom Warriors University broadcast. We're here to talk about social media best practices today. So buckle up, get ready. We're going to jump in and talk about how to get your mind around the basics of social media and how to post and maybe some tools to consider. We have another broadcast that we're working on that's social media schedulers and other tools that we can use to do that. But today we're going to go over what we call the fundamentals. And if you've heard of a phrase that I have, that's get brilliant at the basics. That's why we talk a lot about blueprints, foundations, getting really dialed in on those pieces that are fundamental and they really affect your business long term. There's some things that are more urgent and, we got to do this now to put out a fire in your business. But some of these other pieces that we like to talk about are timeless. They're pieces that you always want to have improving within your organization or business. Okay, so let's jump in today. We're going to have some special guests with us later. I know Joel is going to be with us. A few others might jump in as well, but let's jump into the visuals now. Here we go. Okay, so social media best practices. Welcome. I'm Timothy Morgan, founder, CEO of Giver Marketing and the Giver Marketing Network. Do you have a social media marketing strategy? We have several specialists within our network that handle, I'm thinking of like Keedy Jordan. I'm thinking of others who really highlight social media. Christine Deane is working on kind of a collaborative presentation even this week. And so we're excited to bring a little bit more of that social media love to the stage, if you will. Okay. Especially as we have more tools developing every day. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the principles. We mentioned the blueprint before. The Giver Marketing Blueprint includes branding, visibility, promotion, and nurturing. Okay. So you want to make sure that your marketing follows that track as far as priorities. Okay. So if your branding's not dialed in, don't even worry too much about the rest of this. The branding really needs to be, in our modern era, branding really needs to be reflective of what you're actually doing, who you actually are, the market you're serving, the pain and problem you're solving. And if your brand addresses that, then you are able to move to visibility, promotion, and nurturing. Oftentimes, social media has a component of all four of these because it needs to be branded well. There needs to be some really good imagery and language that reflect who you are, but it also has a visibility factor in that people can find you through social media channels. It also has a promotion factor. You can let people know about specials and timely opportunities for them to take advantage of working with you and these kind of things. So there's a promotion component that is both organic and paid now on all this, pretty much all the social media channels. And then there's a nurturing component. You can do a lot of follow-up and making sure that people don't forget about the conversation that you've been having and setting up appointments. And I think we've set up several thousand appointments last year leveraging social media. So you can you can really utilize social media as a primary method of rocking all three of these in your company. Okay, so keep that in mind as we look at this together. I mentioned branding just a second ago, and remember, your brand generally has like a personality to it. And does it bring a lot of clarity to your audience? Is that what they're taking away? Do you generally bring a level of creativity that inspires them to pave new paths or do new things or generate ideas and move those ideas into action? Or is there a creative process that you're known for? Are you Mr. or Mrs. Consistency? Is that somebody? Are you support? Are you administrative? Are you helping execute on things that are being left behind? Are you the one that's bringing the consistency to the table? And every healthy business has a component of all three of these. The question is, what is your personality type? What do you tend to lean in as a strength? Okay, so you want to highlight that in your brand. That's an important kind of psychographic, if you will, or personality-based branding tip for you. All right. And when we talk about visibility, and we just mentioned social media visibility, this is a good example. Not only do you have your website, which is your real estate that you own and you make changes on and control from a most basic to the most complex level, but you also have all the social channels and other directories that you would want to be listed on so that you come up in the searches. If somebody's searching for your first name, the city that you're maybe based in, maybe you don't have a city that you're based in, maybe there's an industry that they're looking for. They remember, oh yeah, Timothy, he was the giver guy. He was the marketing guy that with the word giver. If they can't find you with a couple of keywords, whether it's a regional word like a location or an industry or another keyword and your first name, then you need to find another way to become more visible. Okay, so social media is great at this. You can make sure that some of those basic keywords are in your descriptions and bios and all that kind of thing. Okay. When it comes to promotion, hey, inform your audience, give them a call to action, engage with them well. That's what social media really does. It helps you engage well, whereas other forms of communication might have what Joel Snyder talks about as like cold traffic dead ends. It's just really hard for you to pick that conversation back up naturally and relationally intelligent way. Okay, so we want to encourage you to make sure that the engagement piece, don't forget the engagement piece when it comes to social media. Okay, you want to really have somebody monitoring those messages, right? Social media is really one of 7 steps in a follow-up system to nurture your prospects. It does include elements of some of these other steps, but it's primarily focused on just one avenue that you can connect with your audience. Okay, don't just do social, be social. Be somebody who, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, or some would call say I want to be an ambivert. Okay, so whatever part of the spectrum you're on that day, remember you're trying to be authentically social here. You're not trying to push something onto somebody. I oftentimes see people mentioning that they're getting really good at marketing, so we're just pitching everybody and we're sending out offers everywhere, and it's important, but it needs to be done in a classy, what I call relationally and emotionally intelligent way. So let's be social. Let's actually be curious about the audience we're interacting with. Okay. All right. So who is your who? Who are you wanting to talk to? Who are you wanting to magnetically bring into your social media channels? And listen, we're just talking about the basics here. If we don't have this dialed in, we don't move to the next step. There is no next step. Like, this has to be focus. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot of time talking to the wrong people. Okay. And by wrong, I just mean they're just not a good fit for your solution. They're not a good fit for what you're offering. You're wasting their time and your own. Okay. So find out who you're called to serve is really one of the best and biggest main questions. So once you identify your audience, you'll notice you'll have questions you can ask yourself, like, well, who's my ideal customer? What is their biggest pain point? What difficulty are they having? What emotions are you addressing? Remember, people make decisions based on feeling and justify them through facts. So feelings at the center, emotions are at the center. Facts are what kind of complement that decision, okay? And some people say, no, I make all my decisions based on logic. Well, technically, yeah, we all make decisions based on a mixture of emotion and logic. However, it's important to note, as a human creature, 99% of the people you meet will oftentimes make decisions based on how it makes them feel, and then they will make sure that it processes through their logical structure as well. It's not usually just the other way around, okay? There's a mix, but it's heavily influenced on the emotional piece. The question that is always needs to be asked when you're putting any kind of marketing project together or marketing strategy together is, ask the question as if you're the audience, okay? Put yourself in their shoes and ask this one question: what's in it for me? Some call this one of the most listened to radio stations, WIIFM, right? So what's in it for me? So this is a really good tip for those who are just getting really, really dialed into their audience. Become a storyteller, not a service seller. And by the way, I want to give a little shout out to some of our team members who have contributed to these visuals in the past, and we've kind of put them all together as best practices from all the different resources that we pulled together. Corey Michael was a big part of this presentation. We pulled a lot from Donald Miller from StoryBrand. There's been some other input from other team members as well. And so I just want to make sure that we're giving credit where credit is due. Become a storyteller, not a service seller, right? So nothing wrong with selling. However, if you go with a narrative in mind, sharing testimony, sharing case studies, sharing how somebody was affected in some way by your product or service, sharing your personal story, your origin story, so that people stay connected to you and you're top of mind. Be a storyteller, and it'll be way less stressful, and you'll attract the right people. The right people will remember you. You can do this on social media. You can also do it one-on-one or one-to-many in other ways as well. Position your business as a guide, as an expert in the room, if you will, okay? Ask yourself, what is it you're fighting against? What problem are you solving? Basically, find the villain in the story, if you want to think of it that way. How is your customer the hero who can overcome this thing that's coming against them, this pain, this problem, this villain, this issue, this difficulty, this frustration? Find that in the story and hone in on that when you're having conversations, okay? Some people say, well, is this sales training? No, this is just human interaction and communication 101. Like, this is how business and commerce is actually done. Remember, you want to highlight the product or service that solves the problem. It's not just how cool your thing is, it's what problem it solves. Focus on the other person. Remember, they're asking, what's in it for me? So you got to answer that question. All right. So as we dive into best practices, be human, be authentic. There's whole generations right now that if you're not authentic, they will not listen to you. So I'm telling you, be authentic. Be someone who's genuine. Be curious. These are key words for very important, especially for large sections of our audience. Okay, so Be very, very conscious of the fact that it's not buttoned up suit and tie. I have all the answers and nobody else has anything to offer anymore. That's not a great business strategy, but maybe rare exceptions. I can't even think of one right now. You want to make sure that you're bringing a human factor to the imagery and the language that you're presenting on social media. And that includes like LinkedIn and some other platforms that are a little bit more structured. You still want to try to bring that human narrative, that human element, that authenticity, maybe a little behind the scenes. And we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, content planning and creation. We're going to dive deeper into this later in future broadcasts, probably in the next few weeks. But I want to make sure and cover some basics here. Okay, look, a social strategy is 80% on what the audience really wants as far as information, entertaining, humorous, useful, those kind of things. Okay, and then 20% on here's how we solve your problems. Okay, here's how we bring a solution, and here's the exchange. Here's the selling pitch, if you will, from social media platforms. Here's the offer. Here's the solution to all the pain and all the pieces that we've been kind of alluding to or mentioning in the previous posts. Here's how we solve it. And you always want to give some kind of call to action, but you want to be really direct on about 20% of your posts. Okay, so it's super clear. If somebody's scrolling through, if they stop the scroll at any point, there's something pretty close to an offer happening at some point, or at least a call to action for a next step, at least that. All right, education, have some fun with it. If you're the personality type that likes to bring clarity, or they're really interested in bringing this combination of consistency and clarity, you might be one of those, trainer, teacher, educational types who like to give a lot of information. Around here, we call them the informers. They inform everybody of the information that they need to know in order to make an educated decision. And if you're smart, you're going to have some components of education within your brand. I can't think of too many situations where a little bit of education would hurt. I can think of a lot of situations where too much information can hurt. So we want to be careful not to bombard your audience with education, training, education, information. We want to be careful not to go too heavy on this, but it's a very powerful tool if it's done with some fun and interesting approaches. You can see the imagery on the screen. It really helps people remember the information along the way. Okay, so bring that education. If you know what you're doing, you're an expert, then you have something to share that's interesting and educational. All right, let's talk about inspirational. Inspirational is one of the most difficult things to sell long term. However, it definitely moves people to action quickly. So if you can sprinkle in some inspiration into your posts, into your imagery, into your language, into your branding, into the how you're doing what you're doing on social media and other platforms, inspiration can be extraordinarily powerful, especially during holidays, during different leveraging certain topics, bringing information and stories that actually take people to another level emotionally. Make sure and bring some inspiration. If you're so focused on information that you forget the inspiration, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have some folks who are watching from a distance, but they may not take that quick action that you're looking for. Okay, so you want to sprinkle in at least some inspiration. All right, humor, and some people, we get pushback on this. And if you read some of the memes that are in front of you right now, you'll laugh. I laugh. We all laugh. Here's the bottom line: it's memorable, and it's not so off-brand that it distracts your audience. Okay, so we want to make sure when you're using humor, it's like a potent ingredient. You want to use it very specifically, a very specific way. So a little bit of sarcasm, A little bit of questioning of the establishment can be a little humorous. A little bit of like, okay, so here's what everybody thinks about my industry. I might as well play it up and have some and make fun of every industry has their idiots. Okay. So make fun of the idiots, like have some fun with it. Enjoy the fact that people are asking really important questions, and you can even bring some levity to that conversation, if you will. All right. Be careful. Make sure it really enhances your brand. But when you do use it, it can be extremely memorable and interesting, and it brings that human side to the posts and the conversation. Speaking of human side, nothing wrong with just good old fashioned, like, here's my family, here's our team, here's who you'll be working with, here's their favorite pastime or hobby. Here's a little sneak peek into our team. There's nothing wrong with just bringing that personal touch. Now, listen, I'm not talking about airing your dirty laundry. You know, I'm not talking about that. Okay. Keep it appropriate, keep it real, but make sure that you have some personal elements that can be brought in to your posting. Okay. User generated content. Some call this UGC if you're in the space, but others just think of other users generating content for your channel. If you have power partners, if you have people with superpowers that are in your network, people that are you have relational equity with, that you're promoting each other's things. We power partner up with other groups. The Giver Marketing Network, Kingdom Warriors University is a good example of that. We cross-pollinate. We leverage each other's content and have a lot of fun with that. And listen, even if you have friendly like allies that you work with that are in similar spaces, mix that in every once in a while. It shows that you're confident in your brand enough to be able to cross-pollinate with, quote, competitors. But they're friendly, they're allies in the work that you're doing. They're a good voice, and you promote them, and they promote you, and it shows a real strong confidence in who you are. There's a lot of insecure brands out there. Write this down, ladies and gentlemen. If you're an insecure brand, get mature. Like, mature your brand to the point where you can actually be on the stage or in a room or on social media live stream or something with a, quote, competitor and still be respectful, even point out the positives in what they're doing. Obviously point out your own strengths as well, or they can do that, but be a brand that is maturing and is low on the insecurity factor. Okay. If you can do that, you will become a big boy or girl when it comes to your brand. All right. Promotional. Listen, people need to know that you're hungry for business. All right. People need to know you're going to pay attention to them and their problem. So make it really clear. This is the special offer we want to give to you during this time, this season, this short period of time. It may not last forever, but at the end of the day, you'll notice that this is what we do. This is our special. Save this amount of money, or get extra bonuses if you. There's a lot of fast action bonuses that are being put out there right now. I like the fast action bonuses myself because it drives people to make decision and make sure that you can help them quickly, and it doesn't devalue your brand. So if you're going to give a deep discount on your product or service, make sure it's for a very limited time. It's like, oh, you're lucky you got to see this or you got access to this. But for the most part, you want to add benefits to your packages to entice folks to get started now. Okay, so that's a good rule of thumb. 2 ways to find content ideas. Well, there's a lot of ways. Here's 2 basic ones. Have you joined online groups where your ideal customer spends time? Are you part of tribes, groups, associations, networks, where whether that's in person or online, you want to consider both. But today we're talking about social media best practices. So you want to join some of these groups. Listen, Facebook has some groups that have, 100,000 plus people in them. There's others that are more niche, more targeted to the folks that you really want to talk to. Maybe they have 5,000 people in them. You can make a living just being connected with some amazing people. I know that we have associates within our network like Ken Cook, for example, who leverages Alignable quite a bit. That's become kind of this business social media platform that is making some pretty interesting moves right now. So, and you got platforms like LinkedIn where some of the groups are, a little bit more suit and tie and a little bit more on the B2B side. But goodness, those groups have tens of thousands of people in them. Some of them, I think, are breaking like 1 million folks in the group, if I remember right. And so, listen, you can find the group that makes sense for you. You're a big boy, you're a big girl. You can find the group, go find them and be active in them like you would any other association. Just connect with people in an authentic way. Make sure that it's very clear what superpower you bring to the room. Ask them about their story, what their superpower is. Get connected to them in those groups. Very, very powerful approach. And by the way, if you're not extremely extroverted and you love to have a bunch of conversation, you can still do this in a methodical way and not drain your batteries, okay? You can still have conversations with 10, 20, 30, 40 folks any given week on these chat platforms. If you can't find the bandwidth to do it by yourself, hire a virtual assistant or somebody to help you kind of start the conversations. But the bottom line is, if you're not in some of these groups, you're missing out on some low-hanging fruit. Like, this is really good conversations and connections. All right. Use the search tools in some of these platforms and just find the folks that you want to connect with directly. Certain key phrases. There's so many different ways to find people on social platforms now. It's important to note that you can actually go out and start connecting today and generate revenue as early as like tomorrow. Okay, so make that part of your strategy. You'll be super happy. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the questions that often come up, and then we're going to open up for questions and have a little bit of a dialogue with. I think Joel's in the green room right now. Ken Cook's in the green room. Others may be joining us here as well in a few minutes as we land the plane. Okay. The all-important question. What about followers? What about fans? What about people liking and engagement? And how does this all work? Look, more followers does not equal more sales, okay? That's a myth. However, you do want to have critical mass. Like, you do want to have enough followers that you are engaging with an audience that makes sense for what you're offering. Okay. So if you have just a room full of random people, like, for example, it's like selling your product or service in a grocery store or in a mall. That's not a great place to just walk around and randomly sell people stuff. Okay. Maybe in the very beginning, just to get your feet wet, you can kind of start with those kind of general tactics. But at some point, you got to get the right people in your audience. Your followers have to be the right people, like higher and higher quality audience as time goes on. It shouldn't become this sea of random people. Okay. It's better to have 500 actively engaged followers than 10,000 or 100,000 followers who don't know who you are, what you do, or even care. All right. This is like marketing 101, ladies and gentlemen, for social media, but we forget the basics. So let's get back to the basics, get really brilliant with it, and then we can generate some impact and money. All right. And also, for those who are serving their clients, if you're a marketing professional, which we have a lot of marketing professionals in our audience, if you're serving your clients, make sure and dial them in a way that makes sense. Don't just create activity, create meaningful and revenue generating activity. Okay. How do businesses actually make money from social media? Well, there's a question. This is like the most common, like top 2 or 3 questions right here. How do you actually make money from social media? And this is the point where we want to start bringing in our panel guests, our members of the Giver Marketing Network here in just a second. But engaging your content, engaging as a business owner or as a team with your business. There's so many different ways. I'm not going to go through all these right now. We're going to go into our panel discussion. But I will say this, screenshot this. Notice the word video is on here several times. The word referral program is on here. I know Ken Cook's going to have some thoughts on some of these pieces. And we can revisit this later if we want to in a minute. But Joel's going to definitely have some comments on this as we bring them on in just a minute. Here, quick tip as we go into group discussion, kind of our round table. When doing a product or service launch, recruit your friends. This includes book launches, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, your family, your super fans. Get those folks that really care, okay? Get them involved in some way when it comes to social media, okay? I'm not talking about forcing them to pitch your stuff every day. I'm just saying get them involved in some way because that is the most organic and powerful way for you to kind of build your momentum. Get folks liking, commenting, sharing, having some fun, and just enjoy the process if you're able to do that, okay? We can go through some of these tools another time, but real quickly, just high level, Answer the Public is a fun classic tool where you can go in and basically find what people are asking about when it comes to the topic at hand. So you type in a topic or some keywords, it will spit you out a bunch of awesome information about that topic, how many folks are searching for it, how it actually is being searched for online, these kind of tools. Some of these tools are so they've been around for so long now. They're not going anywhere. Like they're just solid basic tools that if you haven't tried them, you need to try them today, right? That kind of a thing. And we're not getting paid for any of these. So I'm just letting you know that this is a really fun place to start. And there's literally 100 tools. For every one we're mentioning, there's another 100 we're not mentioning. Okay, so let's not pretend like every list is the best list. Okay, there's a bunch of options depending on your particular use case, your personality, your familiarity with technology, those kind of things. Conversion.ai is one of the early players in the AI space, and they're having some fun right now. Metricool is a fun social media scheduler. There's literally 100. You could almost name 20 like right now of social media schedulers. This is just one. Flowdesk is an email program that I wanted to give an honorable mention in here. There's Crowdfire is a social media posting platform as well. So when it comes to schedulers, scheduling social media and emails, those kind of things, just know that these tools, we have honorable mentions on some of these. Okay. All right. InShot is a fun tool just for those who are getting started with their video editing and trimming. CapCut is another one. There's just all different tools that you can kind of start playing with. By the way, one of the best ways to find the tools that might be most used is type in like InShot versus VS in a Google search or in any kind of search. Or even go into your AI like ChatGPT and just say, hey, what are some alternatives or options to InShot.com? And it'll tell you like 5 or 10 different options to go play with, and you can make your own decision on what tools to use. But listen, if you're having trouble with trimming video, splitting video up, developing those shorts or those reels, you can use some tools that will really help you do that, okay? There's some that are even hard to pronounce, but you can find them. They're easy to use, okay? A lot of them have the term AI built into them now because that's how the tools are evolving. Adobe products are amazing in general. Look, if Adobe doesn't solve a lot of your visual problems, you can always go back to some of the basics with Canva and just get started there. They're also starting to build in a lot of extra goodies and benefits to their platform as well. So between Adobe products and Canva, you should I have a really easy way to start. All right, this is the time we're going to bring in some of our awesome backstage brilliant boys and girls. Okay, let's start with Joel and Ken. And if Christine's available, she'll let us know. But gosh, let's just start here. Joel, Ken, let's talk about getting brilliant at the basics. Just social media 101. Like Ken, I noticed you've been doing a lot of shorts. You've been putting out a lot of these shorter videos. Joel, you're all about no cold traffic dead ends. Let's make sure this social conversation continues. It doesn't just like all of a sudden drop and go off a cliff and we're like, where did my audience go? Like there's different pieces to this. And Ken, I know that you have a whole process by which you would want to, follow up with your folks as well. And you work in tandem with folks like Joel Snyder often. In fact, you end up being power partners on a lot of levels. So let's speak to the marketing professional first, and then to the general audience second. Let's talk to our fellow marketing professionals. Okay, what do we need to know when it comes to social media? What's standing out to you right now?
I think the biggest thing that we've got to focus on from a marketing perspective as marketing professionals trying to find clients through social media is you must speak to the core problems, not simply the symptoms that your clients are experiencing. And so a lot of times what I see lead magnets, I see social posts, videos, etc., that dance around the issue, but don't really get to the heart of the matter. And I think that it does a disservice. It's not direct enough, and it doesn't drive lead volume, which is ultimately the purpose of this, is how do we actually drive interaction, and more specifically, how do we build authentication into that?
Come on. Yes.
And so I think that there's a big challenge in that you are probably an expert, on all kinds of things. But if you're talking about things that aren't relevant to me, it doesn't matter how much of an expert you are in those. It doesn't mean anything. And so I think that's one place where we really have to focus and narrow down, discuss the symptoms, but really get to the root issue as a primary way to impact people.
So if I'm hearing you right, Ken, my wife says I need to use active listening more often in my life. So here we go. If I'm, by the way, that's a business principle too, ladies and gentlemen, like active listening, right? So if I'm hearing you right, please, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this a different way, but if I'm hearing you right, ladies and gentlemen, please don't waste a bunch of people's time by just talking about features of what you're doing. Please get very focused on what problem you're solving, what solution you're bringing, what benefits that are happening when you jump into this dance. It actually create an environment to dance, not just a random sea of noise. That there's a difference between noise and a dance party. And people want to be at a dance party. People don't want to be at some random place with a lot of noise. Okay. So let's remove the noise and get really focused. Okay, good. Thank you, Ken, for that. We'll circle back in just a second. Joel, you and I have been talking quite a bit about intent searches, intent conversations, the tools and the tips we have for our network members. By the way, if you're a marketing professional and you want to jump into a network where you get a lot of support and you don't feel like a lonelypreneur anymore, that's the problem we're solving at Giver Marketing Network. That's what we do. We create an environment so that you don't have to guess or go without a team when you're running into an amazing project and you want to really rock it. Okay. So we're here for you. But Joel, as we work together as members, as compadres, as power partners, as joint venture awesomeness, what have you been seeing on LinkedIn? What have you been seeing in other places? And just from a principle standpoint, no cold traffic dead ends. I mean, that's your thing. What do we need to know?
I think it's important to understand the path, that people are taking. Where are they visiting? What type of content are they consuming? And if you want to attract an audience, you need to know that audience. And I think a lot of people, especially if we're talking to the marketing professional, they need to discover what their customer's customer is and how to understand how that customer's customer behaves, what they consume, how they interact. So those touch points then need to be followed, right? And then we can retarget and put them into a nurture sequence of some kind. And there's lots of tools for getting people into the top of that funnel. And there's some specialized software and things that can be very expensive. So you do want to partner with a marketing professional who's specializing in some of these different areas to really round out your campaign. And
love that. So let me see if I'm hearing you right. If you're a marketing professional or in the B2B space at all, let's broaden this just a little bit for just a second. If you're a marketing professional specifically, or at least in the B2B space, you have two layers. You need to know your client, and you need to know your client's client or your client's customer. Mm-hmm. So those who think B2B is easy, it's not easy because you're thinking at two different levels. But if you can break it down like that, then you got to tackle one. And then once you're able to tackle the first one, then you can go to the second one and be a rock star. So let's make sure you're a rock star. You're the hero in this scenario when it comes to us helping you. So let's make you a hero for your client. Let's make that happen with them. Okay. And so as you get deeper in with your client, they're going to see you as the guide, and they're going to become the hero. There's kind of an evolution that starts happening there. But I love the two layers. Ladies and gentlemen, write that down. Know your customer and know your customer's customer if you're in the B2B space at all, especially marketing. Goodness gracious, you got to know your audience and your audience's audience. Joel, what else do you got on that topic? That's brilliant.
Yeah, and if you're in the B2C space, the question becomes, does that customer's audience, are they a fertile ground for sharing your content? Right. So you think of brand loyalty, for example. People like to associate with certain brand personalities, right? So as you're looking at that, how to generate your content and what your voice and personality and how you match up to audiences, as you're kind of deciphering all of that, the next question becomes, is that customer ground fertile territory for sharing your content to allow the exponential level of organic distribution of your content?
Oh, this is delicious. Ladies and gentlemen, put that in the comments. Some of the tips and just concepts. These are principles that we're trying to pull down into the kind of the stylistic hints and tips for you today. Okay. There's principles that we all can agree on. And then there's these preferences and tools and tips and approaches that are very powerful for most everybody who's listening today, especially as we talk about those in the marketing space or those in the B2B space, and then others as well. Okay. Any last thoughts? We're going to land the plane today because this has been so rich, so amazing. Want to thank also Christine Deane for making sure this broadcast was able to really rock it today. And we have some more goodies when it comes to social media, like schedulers and ways to save you time coming up here in the next few weeks. But Ken, last thoughts here as we land. Maybe even share a little bit about how you've been helping some of the marketing agencies, some of the just really hungry marketing professionals out there who want to take their game to another level. This is a time for you to go ahead and share with us your superpowers as well.
So here's what I would say is having the ability to produce video rapidly, so important on social media today. We have a staff videographer, and it is it's a game changer. And so if you can figure out a way within your business as an agency to be producing video content on the regular, so important. If you're an agency who's looking to really reshape how it is that you relate to customers, reduce churn, increase that pipeline, and sell higher ticket items than you are right now, I would love to have a discussion with you about how we can help you do that.
Love it. Great like summary and tip all wrapped up into a Christmas present for everybody today. Appreciate that. Joel, last thoughts as we land the plane. We're going to see everybody next week as well. For those who want to jump into just an amazing networking experience, you can go to givermarketing.com/networking. And that's for anybody in our audience. givermarketing.com/networking will help you stay connected with us so that we can all benefit each other as we work together. But Joel, as we kind of continue having this scrolling past the screen for folks to jump in even now, what is it that you would say as a kind of a closing, like, don't forget this, like whatever you do, like start doing this. What's a good tip for us today?
Yeah, don't be a copycat. I think the biggest thing is if everybody looks at what someone else was doing and go, oh, that's cool, I'm going to do that. No, have your own idea. Ken's got a great perspective on creating video content that's creative, right? It stops the scroll. And I think that, if you are in the social media space or you're just getting started in the social media space, the tendency is to do what everyone else is doing. And I think, if you apply the context of your messaging with creativity and you combine that into some fun, interesting imagery, there's ways to stop that scroll so that people take time to pay attention to your message.
Well said. I love that. So if I'm hearing you right, as we kind of wrap up today, don't be a copycat. Bring some of your own special sauce to what's happening in that conversation. Can I ask a quick follow-up question on that, Joel?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
What's a good way to share other people's content while still being original? What are some thoughts on that piece? Because we're not talking about copycatting. We're talking about sharing something that you might be valuable for your audience, because we don't want to dismiss that either at the same time. So how do we share other content in a classy way?
Yeah, I think you can add an industry insight.
Okay.
You can add a impact statement.
Okay.
And you can ask a question. How has this impacted you? Right. So there's lots of different ways to use that content and put your own touch to it. You can even add personality and go, man, I saw this and wow, is this guy really off base? Right. Or this was so right on, I had to share it right now. Take a look. If you do that, I'll even send you a cup of coffee for viewing the message. I mean, there's lots of little things that you can do to push that.
I like that. And anything to generate some meaningful dialogue in the comments down below. We're getting some love from the audience, even live today. So we really appreciate all those who are listening. As we wrap up today, reminder, reach out to Joel Snyder and Ken Cook. Is it Kendall Cook on LinkedIn? Is that correct? Yep. Or you can go to thepreparedgroup.com as well. But listen, reach out to these gentlemen. They are somebody you want to actually have a conversation with. Okay. Find Joel Snyder on LinkedIn and light him up and say, I hear you're a giver. What do I need to know about working with you? Or Kendall Cook on LinkedIn, or just search him up under thepreparedgroup.com if you want. But find these gentlemen online, continue the conversation. We love promoting our geniuses, our members in the room, and just letting people know that they are ready. They're hungry to help you. They want to solve the problems that have been giving you frustration for the last several weeks, months, or even years. So we want to help you. Okay. We're here to support you, whether you're a marketing professional who needs a tribe, or whether you're somebody who's just learning about marketing and you happen to want to pick up some tips along the way before you engage with folks specifically. we're here to help you. Okay. So God bless you guys. See you tomorrow if you go to givermarketing.com/networking. Blessings, guys. Talk to you soon.